Hey everyone, Mitch coming in with the Commander Score Studio. Welcome to the show. So on today's episode, I've got a brutally, awesomely, powerfully cool commander for you. Let's jump into it. And that would be the infamous Cruelclaw. Now, the infamous Cruelclaw itself is $8.11. That being said, every other card in this deck is 50 cents or less at the time of building it, so the budget for this deck is very affordable. Even that $8 commander, $23.20 according to Moxfield, not including shipping or basics, but you might already have those. Regardless, let's talk about what this crazy weasel does. A 3/3 Weasel Mercenary with Menace for 3 mana in Rakdos. When it deals combat damage to a player, exile cards from the top of your library into exile a non-land card. You may cast that card by discarding a card rather than paying its mana cost. Yeah, this is basically Cascade without a limit for the cost of discarding a card on a hit. And because it is on hit, that is a downside, but also an upside as well. It is a downside because you actually need to get through. That being said, this commander does have Menace. That is a decent form of evasion, which will help us get through in many circumstances. And of course, we've got other ways to help get through as well. That being said, we've got ways to use and abuse that to ensure that we get that trigger more than once in a turn. And also with that, more than, one massive spell potentially we're casting off the top of our deck, basically for free. And with that discard, we've got ways to take advantage of that discard as well, or certain things that we can discard and maybe get back, and maybe discard and get back. So we are going to be throwing some haymakers so early in this game, our opponent's heads will spin. We can take over the game in absolutely no time. If you are interested in this deck, make sure to check out that deck list link in the description below. While you're at it, check out my new Kickstarter as well on a new card game I made. And of course, as always, let's jump into the tactics. So let's start things off with tactic number 1, get through. Pretty apparent that we need to actually hit our opponents to ensure that we actually do get the trigger. Now our commander again does have Menace, can only be blocked by 2 or more creatures, but let's add Flying to the mix just to make it a bit easier. I mean, at least one opponent we're going to be able to get through on with a flyer, and if not, they don't have 2 flyers. No way, right? And we've got other ways too, just in case. Zephyr Boots, though, creature has flying, deals combat to a player, draw a card, then discard a card. Another great combat damage trigger for us. Being able to actually just, filter through our deck can be quite nice. Next up, Cloak of the Bat, flying and haste. Fleet Feather Sandals does the exact same thing as well. Being able to swing right away can be quite good as well. Next up, Executioner's Hood. If a creature has Intimidate, meaning it can't be blocked except by artifact, black, and red creatures. Plus, again, it has Menace, so that player would need 2 of those. So again, yeah, we're going to find avenues to get through. Even if we're not, attacking the most threatening player, that's okay. We just want to get through so we can become the threatening player. Guild Opinion's a good early game card as well. Enters the battlefield, make a treasure token, so some nice temporary ramp for us there. Creature has flying. Psychic Paper. This does a lot. We care about one thing on this, though. Becomes attached to a creature to a creature card name and creature type. Cool. The creature has Ward 1. It can't be blocked, and its name and creature type are the last chosen ones. Yeah, we don't really care about changing the name too much. Cool, that's nice. What we care about more so actually is just, well, Ward 1 is nice, but being able to get through, again, can't be blocked. That is huge. Wings of Hubris, creature is flying. We can also sacrifice this to give the creature basically unblockability. We sacrifice it at the beginning of next end step when we need to do so, but again, desperate times call for desperate measures. But we're not going to be so desperate if we hit Void Beckoner off the top of our deck. An 8/8 with Death Touch. That being said, cycle it away for 3 mana, essentially get a Death Touch counter into our creature we control. Putting a Death Touch counter on our commander can be a really good block deterrent. If an opponent only has like 2 creatures and they're like, well, I would survive the block normally, but now all of a sudden it's a Death Touch Menace creature, they have to lose 2 creatures to block our 1. We're going to be more likely to get through on them. Next up, tactic number 2, Double Trouble. Like I mentioned earlier, doubling things up with our triggers is a possibility for this commander. One of the ways to do that is Double Strike. Being able to hit and then hit again, that is absolutely amazing. Again, basically free Cascade, discard twice. Lovely. Spectacular Showdown. Sorcerer 2 mana, put a Double Strike counter on our creature, then go to each creature that had a Double Strike counter put on this way. Can also overload it too, so yeah, basically force goading for everyone and hitting each other really hard. absolutely lovely on top of, yeah, just being able to get through on an opponent and hit them twice. Twinferno. We have some options here. This can give double strike, or it can make it so we copy our next instant or sorcery spell that we cast, so being able to, again, do something like this and then cast something massive at the top of the deck can be great as well. Or, yeah, just double strike is great. Fire Shaker, very simple, very effective. Quick Address, double strike. Two-handed axe can give double strike with that adventure. Also, though, for some of our bigger creatures, attach this to it once they come into play. Quick creature attacks, double its power until end of turn. I mean, at the minimum, right, we got like a Void Beckoner, like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, 16 power swinging through an opponent. Blood Mist, at the beginning of combat here, turn target creature control gains double strike until end of turn. It's going to be our commander the vast majority of the time. Again, later in the game, maybe if we've got some big threats, pick them instead. Brass Knuckles, though, and you cast a spell, copy it. Quick creature double strike as long as 2 more equipment are attached to it. So we actually get 2 of these. We can attach to our commander, and then something else if we need to, or just both to our commander if it's the only equipment we have in play. Regardless, double strike equals double the value for our commander. But speaking of doubling value, let's move on to tactic number 3, the Golden Pig, which is our number 1 card ever 99, and that is Scourge of the Throne, a 5/5 dragon with flying that costs 6 mana in red, dethrone. So if we attack the player with the highest life total, or tied for the highest life total, we get a counter on this. Yay! On top of that, though, when we attack for the first time each turn, if we're attacking that same player, we get an extra combat, and that is massive again. We've got so many massive threats in this deck, so that can just be game ending. And then also, of course, earlier on, I mean, even just later on too, we are getting extra triggers when our commander comes through and hits an opponent, because we get the extra combats, and also maybe a double strike too. So yeah, if you got double strike, if you got an extra combat, that is 4 amazing, free cascade triggers off the top of our deck. That can be just game ending in and of itself. So let's say game ending value engine for us. Scourge of the Throne, a fantastic card for this deck. Next up, tactic number 4, heavy hitters. Let's talk about some big things that we can hit, some things that are game changers. First up, Atali. Yeah, when this attacks, and again, get those extra combats, attack more, lovely. When this attacks, everyone exiles the top card of their deck, and we can cast them this turn. Lovely. Absolutely amazing extra value for us. And again, keep in mind, we've got a lot of high value things in this deck to hit off the top. Next up, Ingress Marauders. If a sorcery control wield damage to a permanent player, double that up. This can make things so incredibly deadly. I mean, just even think about our little commander, right? 3 power for our commander. Yeah, it's not going to take anyone out, right? Well, let's just say that we have some double strike on that. All of a sudden, that is now 12 damage when it gets through. And if you have an extra combat in there, it's game right there. Just a one-shot KO, basically. I mean, it's a lot of shots, but one-shot KO. Hit the Mother Load. An amazing card as well. 7 mana, discovered 10. If the discovered card's value is less than 10, create a number of tapped treasure tokens, equal the difference. So basically, you hit something big. Great. You hit something small. Great. Either way, you're getting a ton of value. Moving on. Speaking of value, Wondrous Crucible. Permanent you control of Ward 2. A nice way to protect everything that we have. On top of that, give your end step, mill 2 cards, and exile a non-land card at random from your graveyard. Copy it. You may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. This is absolutely huge. Again, we've got some massive things that we can get, massive things that we can cast, again, without even paying for them because of our commander. And now out of our graveyard, too, we can get them without paying for them as well. Moving on, Artisan of Kozilek. When you cast this spell, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Annihilator 2. It's a 10/9 as well. All great things. Again, we are cheating it into play with our commander, but we are still casting it, so we do get that trigger, which is amazing because it doesn't specify from your hand. Next up, Phyrexian Triniform, a threat, whether it's on the battlefield or whether it's not, or whether it dies, or whether, we encore it. When it dies, create 3/3/3 Phyrexian Golem artifact creature tokens. It's a 9/9. On top of that, you can encore it out of your graveyard. So yeah, even discarding this might not be that bad of a thing. Next up, tactic number 5, hit where it hurts. We've got some creatures that we, have giant threats in and of themselves. They're great threats for us. And also on top of that, they have that kind of destructive quality to them, like Bane of Balagad. A 7/5 Eldrazi for 7 mana. When it attacks, the Fang player exiles 2 permanents they control. This can decimate boards again and again and again. Butcher Malkier, speaking of decimating, a 5/4 flyer. Whenever another creature control dies, each opponent sacrifices a creature. Our opponents are in trouble whether they do stuff or don't do stuff when this is in play because, oh, I want to block, I want to take that out. Oh, yeah, I got to take that out. Oh, all these threats. But if they do, they're losing their own things as well. Next up, Elder Brain. Speed of losing things. They can lose their entire hand now. When this attacks player, all those cards from their hand go away. They draw that many cards, and then we get access to those cards, which is absolutely fantastic, giving us extra value, extra card advantage essentially for us. And also, if an opponent had a plan, guess what? Your plan's gone. So, goodbye. Next up, Overseer of the Damned. ETB, destroy a creature. On top of that, whenever any of our opponent's creatures die that are non-token, we replace them with a 2/2 zombie. For us, absolutely lovely. So we get that 2/2 tap zombie, and we build up our army over time. Next up, Shard of the Void Dragon, a 7/7 flyer. Whenever it attacks, each opponent sacrifice a non-land permanent. This can add up a lot throughout the game. A lot of edicts to be had. On top of that, whenever an artifact is put in a grave from the battlefield or is put in an exile from the battlefield, you get 2 counters on this. That can be quite spicy. An absurd amount of power can be had with this. Breaker of Armies, speaking of power, 10/8 Eldrazi for 8 mana. All creatures able to block it do so. So this is a great way, well, to get our commander through if we need to, because it has to be blocked. So yeah, swing through. Everyone's got to block it. So our commander's coming through as well, and anything else that we want. So this can be a great finisher for us. It's also kind of like a mini board wipe in a way, because you have to block this. This is 10 total power. I essentially can spread out however I want among your creatures. Speaking of power, though, Magmatic Force, 7/7. Beginning of each upkeep, 3 damage to any target. Lightning Bolt every single turn, not just our own. So that can be, you know, medium-sized to small creatures that we are taking out. Or, yeah, hey, opponent, your faces. Your faces. This will take absolutely no time to take them out. Ulamog's Crusher, another great card as well. 8/8, Annihilator 2. Has to attack each combat if able. We're fine with that. A great way to decimate our opponents. Moving on to tactic number 6, more pain, because, yeah, the pain train is still rolling. Our opponents are in trouble because we're also going to be dealing with other things like, you know, with Big Big Hunter. A great card, a 1/1 Human Rebel Assassin, enters the battlefield, destroy target creature with power 4 or greater, can't be regenerated. On top of that, madness for a single black mana. So basically, again, that downside of our commander of having to discard something is no longer a downside when this is in our hand. All of a sudden, we're like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I discard this to cast that. By the way, take out your creature for 1 mana. And I get a little 1/1. Thank you. Terminal Agony, another great madness card as well. Destroy target creature, madness for just 2 mana. Dark Withering, destroy target non-black creature, madness again for just a single mana. So again, you can see just the value we can have with those massive plays when we're set up properly. Blood Money. Speaking of big plays, though, destroy all creatures for each non-token creature destroy. This way you create a tap treasure token. Again, this is a great, let's cleanse the board. The board doesn't need to be around right now. Things are getting out of hand. You know what, though? I'm going to rebuild quite quickly. I've got all this mana. Of course, I can recast my commander quite quickly thanks to that. Karavek the Merciless. Oh, my goodness. Whenever opponent casts a spell, it's going to deal damage. You can let spells convert mana cost to any target. That includes creatures, planeswalkers, our opponent's faces, whatever you need to deal damage to, take them out. Then there's Necromantic Selection. Destroy all creatures, return 1 creature back from any graveyard, essentially, that was put in the graveyard this way. And then all of a sudden, yeah, our commander just gets destroyed. Oh, no, that's okay. It's back. It's the only creature left on the board. We are ready to rebuild. We are ready to just get through with it. Wit's End. This is absolutely brutal against one of our opponents. They're going to have to discard their entire hand. So all the plans that they had, all these strategies they were ready for, those are gone. They're out the window because they have no more hand. They are top decking and hoping that they can catch back up, but that doesn't really work out too well for them ever. Decree of Pain, a great one as well. Destroy all creatures that can't be regenerated. Draw a card for each creature destroyed this way. So a great way to reset things and to get ahead on card draw. You can also cycle it if you need to. Heartless Conscription. Exile all creatures for each card exiled this way. You may play that card for as long as you remain exiled. And mana of any time you cast the spell, exile this. So essentially a great way to take everyone's creatures. They all go away. Yes, including our own as well. You can replay your commander very easily, obviously at 3 mana. And also, you can replay your opponent's things too. How nice of you. Soulfire Eruption, another great thing to hit up the top of the library. Choose any number of target creatures, planeswalkers, and or players. For each of them, exile top card of your library. Deals damage equal based on that mana value, essentially. And you can play those cards until the end of your next turn. So basically, massive impulse draw on top of, you know, removal, damage to faces, whatever you need to do. Moving on, tactic number 7, hand reset. Well, again, we are going to be going down resources when we actually are casting things off the top of our library. We hit the discard a card, but that being said, we've got some easy ways to ensure that we have plenty of cards to do so, and later on we'll talk about some really great cards we want as well. Mags the Wheel, though. Pay 2 mana, tap, sacrifice, wheel. Everyone discards their hand, draw a 7, so we are reset and ready to go. Combustible Gear Hulk, basically top 3 cards of our library. We're going to get those into our hand, or an opponent's going to say, no, you don't get to do that. And then we reveal those top 3. They go into our graveyard, and that's going to be the damage based on the total mana value. They're not going to want to do that. We've got some absurd mana value cards in this deck that could take upwards of 20 damage. Yeah, it's going to be fun if they do choose that, though. Runehorn Hellkite. This one, actually, we do want to discard because in our graveyard, pay 6 mana essentially, and exile it, and then everyone wheels. So it's a great way to reset a hand. Dragon Mage, a great repeatable wheel essentially. 5/5 flyer, deals combination to player, everyone wheels. Discard, draw 7. Eldritch Pact, this can actually be a finisher for us as well. Target player draws X cards and loses X life for X number of cards in their graveyard. Throughout the game, this is going to build. It's a good way to finish someone off or earlier in the game. If we need extra, just draw a good amount of cards, we can with this, of course. Null Spine Dragon enters the battlefield, you may discard your hand and draw cards equal to the damage dealt target opponent this turn. Yeah, we've got a massive army that we can build with some really heavy hitters. We're going to be dealing out a lot of damage once we get going, and all of a sudden, we can draw a lot of cards with this. Sandstone Oracle. Take advantage of your opponent having a good hand, and you maybe not having one. Basically, you draw equal to the difference on the ETB. So yeah, if an opponent's got 7 and we've got nothing, guess what? Now we're at 7 as well. Baleful Force, though, is going to keep us well above 7. It's a 7/7 itself. Beginning of your upkeep, you draw a card and lose 1 life. 1 life for 1 card is worth it any day of the week in Commander. Next up, tactic number 8, don't lose it, and we shall not lose it with Bag of Holding. Bag of Holding is a great card when it comes to the amount of value we can get out of our cards, even our discarded cards, because whenever we discard a card, we exile from our graveyard, then we can actually, we can loot with this, which is nice, but pay 4, tap, sacrifice this, bring all those cards back to your hand. So yeah, this is a great way to say, oh no, I'm out of cards. Oh cool, I'll just get all those cards I already discarded. Thank you. I am reset with a massive hand now. Containment Construct helps out in a different way, though. When we discard a card, we can exile a card from our graveyard and play it this turn. So it's kind of like turning our cards into impulse draw in a way, which is great because, again, we're like, okay, Cascade thing. Discard. Oh, cool. We can still play the card. Lovely. Next up, Dog Detective. Enters the battlefield surveil too, so that's nice. More importantly, though, whenever an opponent draws their second card, each turn you may return it from your graveyard to your hand. That's going to happen quite a bit throughout the game. Just take note, the next time that you're playing Game of Commander, how many times throughout the game a player draws 2 cards in a turn? Quite often it is going to be happening. So, essentially, again, you discard this one. It's in your graveyard. Again, off the Cascade thing. You discard it. Cool. And then all of a sudden, player, draws 2 cards, all of a sudden it's back in your hand, so you can discard it next time. So it's like a repeatable discard outlet for us. Next up, Oversold Cemetery in a somewhat similar way. At the beginning of your upkeep, you have 4 more creature cards in your graveyard. You may return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. This is going to get us back some really heavy hitters throughout the game, but also, again, just a way to say, you know what? I've got more fodder for discard for my Cascade. A great one, though, is Squee. This is so consistent. Beginning of your upkeep, you may return it from your graveyard to your hand. So being able to just consistently be like, okay, I discard it to this Cascade effect. Oh, cool, it's back in my hand. I do it again and again. Every single turn, we've got an extra card to discard thanks to this. Vilborn Ghoul. Can't block for 1. Oh, we don't really care about that. What we care about is enters the battlefield under your control. Whenever a swamp enters, in any swamp, we've got plenty of swamps for this stack, you can return from your grave to your hand. So it's a great way to just be like, oh, okay, cool. Play a swamp, bring it back to my hand. Evolving Wilds for a swamp, bring it back to my hand. Whatever you need to do. Charmbreaker Devils, a lot of value to be had here. 4 at the beginning of your upkeep, return insert sorcery card at random from your grave to your hand. Again, can bring back some heavy hitters for us, which is lovely. On top of that, whenever you cast instant sorcery spells, it gets +4/+0 until end turn, so this can be a heavy hitter itself as well. But now let's move on to tactic number 9, get the party started. And get the party started we shall, because first up there's Wayfarer's Bob. We'll pay 2 taps, sacrifice, get a basic land, into play tap. Next up, Everflowing Chalice. Pay 2 taps for 1, pay 4 taps for 2, etc., etc. Arcane Signet, taps for either of our colors at 2 mana. Lovely. Charcoal Diamond and Fire Diamond basically do the exact same thing. Enter the battlefield tap, taps for 1 of our 2 colors. Mind Stone taps for a color, so we can pay 1 to tap and sacrifice to draw a card. Rakdos Signet is our mana filterer, which is absolutely fantastic for us. Cursed Mirror, though, is great. Taps for a red, or enters the battlefield. We can have it become a copy of any creature on the battlefield until our turn except as haste. Again, we've got some massive, heavy hitters in this deck. Take advantage of that, and especially take advantage of ones that have ETBs as well. Decanter Ventless Water, a great card as well. You have no maximum hand size. Yeah, that's going to be really helpful when we have those massive card draws. And then lastly, we've got File of Galadriel. If we would draw a card while we have no cards in hand, we draw 2 cards instead. Again, we are going to be getting down in hand size at certain points, so yeah, we can just take advantage of this out of this mana rock. That's not all that efficient. Again, 3 taps for 1, but still, that extra card draw can be absolutely lovely. But now let's talk about tactic number 10, Great Lands, because we got some that we really want to highlight. With Access Tunnel, taps for a color, pay 3 tap. Target creature with power 3 or less can't be blocked this turn. Our commander has power 3, so yeah, great way to get through. Rogue's Passage can get any of our creatures through, though. Pay 4 tap, target creature can't be blocked this turn. That can be massive, again, to get our commander through for that trigger. Or again, one of our massive heavy hitters getting that through as well can be game ending. But now this episode is coming to a close, it's time for me to hear from you. So in the comments below, let me know what your thoughts on this are. And of course, check out that deck list link in the description below, my Kickstarter as well. If you're interested in this deck, make sure you pick it up. It's a really fun one. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.